Today's guest is executive leadership coach, career strategist, author, and self proclaimed queen of reinvention, Linda Rogers. From losing her father at just 16 years old to rebuilding her life in a new country, navigating career transitions, surviving redundancy, and finding love again, Linda's journey is a masterclass in resilience. In this conversation, she shares why reinvention is not about becoming someone else. It's about taking everything you've learned, every scar you've earned, and using it to build the next version of yourself. Whether you're feeling stuck, overlooked, burnt out, or simply standing at a crossroad, this episode will remind you that it's never too late to begin again. Let's dive in.
Hello, soulmates. You're now listening to Peppers of Stories meant to soothe the souls of women everywhere. Today, we have the pleasure of chatting with the inspiring Linda Rogers. So, Linda, thank you so much for coming on our podcast. So, let's go. So, I'm just going to read Linda's bio, but I think when I'm done, I'm just going to ask Linda what is the one thing she wants us to know about her, because we've tried to summarize and compress this bio because her experience is long and extensive across different continents, but we'll summarize. So, Linda Rogers is an executive leadership coach, a career strategist, the author of the book Career Resilience and Reinvention, thriving in a changing job market. I'm sure that'll be very interesting, right? Given where we are, our current realities and AI. And she's the founder of Leadership House, where she empowers ambitious mid-career and executive women to gain clarity, build confidence, and strategically position themselves for senior leadership opportunities. With over 2 decades of experience leading technology transformation and high-performing teams at the executive and C-suite level, Linda brings a unique blend of real-world leadership insights and transformational coaching expertise to her work. So, I have that in common in terms of coaching. So, Linda, as an accredited executive coach and member of the Association for Coaching, Linda is passionate about helping professionals who feel overlooked, underpositioned, or stuck beneath their next level of leadership potential. I felt that way in the past. Through intentional and strategic coaching, she supports clients in rebuilding executive confidence, increasing visibility, and creating meaningful career momentum. And I'm going to summarize now. So Linda is known for her thoughtful yet challenging approach. Linda helps leaders uncover blind spots, strengthen the executive presence, and take bold, confident action towards careers aligned with their purpose and ambition. Her work is rooted in the belief that every individual is the CEO of their own career and life, and that it's never too late to create a career you truly love. So you know what I say? Drum roll. We're getting ready. So awesome. I'm ready to unpack. So look, Linda, if there's one thing that you want to speak to, we call our audience soulmates. If there's one thing you want our audience to sort of pick out of your bio or experience, and I know you drop different nuggets. I like the piece on the CEO. Every individual is the CEO of their own. Just tell us what's the one thing you feel like summarizes your entire leadership philosophy, and what is the story behind it? Because we like to tell stories, we like to share stories, and the reason why I say so is stories are so relatable, because coming to the point that you're in, there must have been an incident, there must have been an experience, there must have been some form of adversity, and you said, heck no, I'm the CEO of my life. I'm going to stay on top of this. It's not going to take me out. So tell us a little bit about Linda behind the profile.
I think that's really, really good that you have sort of like summarized and asked me this question, Ajame. I think if I was going to leave like one liner, it's basically I'm the queen of reinvention.
Yay.
Yeah, and I say that with resilience being the key of that reinvention, basically. So I like the fact that you're sort of like saying what is the story behind it. And the story behind this is basically at the age of 16, I lost my dad in the plane crash. I was a spoiled daddy's girl.
Never knew
Very
that.
spoiled.
I never ever knew that.
Yeah,
And I've
so
known you
very
forever.
spoiled.
Wow.
Yes, exactly. I was a spoiled daddy's girl who was the best thing that, my dad loved so much. And then he passed in a sudden plane crash, the C-130 plane crash in Lagos. So that was a shock to the system. And basically, and a lot of things sort of like happened around that. And basically, at the age of 16, had to reinvent myself, as in had to grow up really quickly and sort of like move to the UK. And so when we talk about location change and, redundancy and stuff like that, which we'll touch in some of our conversations, those are things that you now have to sort of like build resilience. So at that age, I had to start to build resilience really, really quickly. And I think also there's a bit about being a Nigerian. We fester anywhere they put us. I always say, put me anywhere.
Niger.
I always say, put me anywhere. After going to boarding school, put me anywhere, and I will find my way, and I will fester, and I will become the person that needs to be top of that place that you put me. So I think that Nigerian spirit, the beats around the travel that happened in a young age is just giving me that tenacity for resilience. So there's nothing that you put me, I will reinvent myself. Wherever I find myself, whatever situation I find myself, there's something to be won. So it's always basically, what is it I'm going to learn from this, and where is it going to take me?
Oh yeah. I like what you say, because you remember we have a common connection. Jumoke Fagbemi, we worked together in one of the last companies we worked in.
Yeah.
And she used to tell me, in the next 5 years, how important is this? So she started to help me kind of reframe the anxiety that I was going through in the moment, the fear, the loss, the concern, when you blow things up and all you can see is this one thing. And just to say, in the next 5 years, like smoke, it's like cloud. It's just gonna go. You're gonna go past. The plane going through the skies, and it's a bit turbulent, but it's just a moment in time. So I need to sort of, I don't know if I should say my condolences. I know that your dad has left his legacy in you, and I'm sure that you are a mommy as well as a daddy's girl now. So, and I'm sure he's really proud of you. And so my empathy is really running deep right now, because I never knew that story. What I want you to do is unpack that experience a little bit, because you said you are a queen of reinvention. So I want you to sort of tell me the before and after, maybe like 3 big transition moments where you're like, this is what I know. Then, oh my God, no, that's not it. I'm going to have to do it in another way.
No, I think that's really good. So let me start with one. So when I came to London, so in the younger age, it was basically, okay, I need to work. I need to feed myself, but I also want to go to school. I want to put myself through school. So basically, I was doing 2 jobs. I'm putting myself through university. But one thing I did when I walked into my university, so I went to Middlesex University. I walked into university and I said, I remember standing in the foyer and said, I'm going to come out on my first day of I'm going to come out of this university with a first class. No matter what happens, it's a first class, basically. So when I had my colleagues or my co-students going to the pub after school or class, yes, which we should do. Yep, I would be like, oh no, I have to go to work. So I would go to work to go stack shelves at night and then come back the next day for school. And I graduated first class. So that taught me that actually, if I say I want to do it, I can do it. I can manifest it. So so that has always been something, that learning has always been something that I've taken through my life to say, if I want this, I need to go for it. I need to define what it is. And then I'm going to work towards it and it's going to happen. Right. So basically came out, graduated first class, and I thought, oh, okay, that worked. Obviously, with I'm a Christian with faith and everything and all of that, and hard work, it happened. So I thought, okay, so what's the next thing I can do that will use the same? I've got the blueprints. I might as well apply it somewhere else, basically. So another thing that I did, and that's when I met you, Ejime, was basically I took a bold step to go back to West Africa after 15 years of not even stepping my feet in it, basically. And I remember when I was being headhunted for the role I was headhunted for, I was told, well, it's to go and remove technology and from a country where or an organization where we have put technology and spent a lot of money putting technology. You're a technologist and you're going to go there and tell them you're going to take away technology. And I told myself, okay, that's a challenge. I will go. And I came, and I remember speaking to the head of marketing in that organization after we had spent a lot of money on some system, and I said, well, we're going to go back to paper for a few months because you cannot put technology over processes that are not working. We need to fix the processes and then we put technology. And I remember the GM saying, but you're head of IT, how can you be telling us to go back to paper? And how do you come as a head of IT and tell us to go back to paper? That actually doesn't make any sense, basically. But that we did. Obviously, sold a business case to them. We did that, and it ended up being really, really important for that particular market. But not only that particular market, we ended up then transferring into other markets in Africa and even in Santa Cruz in Brazil, so smaller markets and stuff. So it's quite interesting where you're willing to sort of like take a step back from what you know and reassess, and then take steps forward. Basically, I think there's a saying we have in Nigeria where you say you take a step back, one step back, you take 5 steps forward, basically. So that was another one where it was, okay, I don't know if I should be doing this, but you know what? Hey, what's the worst that can happen? Let me go do it. So I like Jumoke's saying, I love what Jumoke has said is, so what is it in the next 5 years? What is this going to be in the next 5 years, basically?
Yeah.
And then you can get out all of that.
I'm looking for one more story because this is so cool. I mean, the thing about the first class and the thing about technology. You know, the funny thing, Linda, is today when we think about AI, people don't realize that it's not about AI. It's about the data. It's about the process. It's about the attributes, the classification of data, the configuration, the architect, and the process. And if you put AI on top of something that doesn't make sense, you get rubbish, garbage in, garbage out. Remember, we had that when computers first came. It still applies because AI is built on computer. Yeah. And I think the thing you said about, so I remember people would typically say a setback for a comeback. You know what I mean? So yeah, 1 step back, then 5 steps forward. I agree. So what is one other story? Because now you've talked about career, you talked about school. What about relationships? Anything you want to?
Yes. Oh yes. Oh yes.
Tell
Oh
us.
yes.
Tell us.
Let's go there. So I think with relationships, I've been married more than once, and I'm not ashamed to say that because you take learnings from one and move into the other one. So when I talk about relationships, reinventing, and my husband is sort of like the one that helped me set up this. Oh, you have the podcast, so let's set it up. What do you need?
And sweet.
And he's now gone out to watch the football. So there's apparently football. But you know, in my past relationship, basically, I took the learnings that what I did wrong and what he did wrong, and I took that and I used that as, you know, what I've now made, you know, a thing that we do in our relationship. So, for example, me and you're gonna laugh about this. Me and my husband have quarterly reviews. Yeah.
Topics, please. Is it a vision board review or just what?
You're gonna die of laughing here that I'm saying this, but we do.
Oh my God.
We literally in the first day of the year we have our vision board, what we're gonna do, and we do a yearly review where we say what went well this year, what didn't go well, what do we need to improve on. We have that written down.
Do you have a dashboard too?
We do have a dashboard.
Like, what did we miss? What is red? Using the rag?
Joking. We actually have an Excel dashboard that has this from when we met. All of the reviews are all in that Excel sheet. No joke. I
hope you guys reward each other for exceeds expectation. You remember the performance?
I remember that. Oh my goodness! Outstanding, exceed.
Exactly.
Nearly there. Why are you nearly there?
Oh my God, that's not the one you want.
No, but seriously, yeah. So we do have that review, and it's because we've taken that learning from his. So it's also his first marriage. So we've taken learning from both our marriages, and we've reinvented how we do our relation, and it works perfectly for us in regards to our quarterly reviews and, you know, rewarding ourselves and stuff like that. So in relationships, also, it's reinvention. It's making sure that you take lessons from anything that the experience that you have, that you don't lose, you know, your experience, because your experience, the scars that you have a part of you as you move forward. So you always have to always take those experiences into anything else that you do and reinvent.
So the last time I saw Linda Soulmates was her daughter's wedding, and it was like a beautiful homecoming. I think what I really loved were the moments, there are always moments in an event. I like the moment when you guys were all sat and you had your beautiful attire with all the beads, beautiful beads. I love the moment when your daughter danced with her father. I could see the connection. So I'm glad that that connection is still there regardless.
Mm-hmm.
And like you say, he's learned his lessons. And I mean, I just enjoyed that experience of witnessing love. So what is the one thing you tell your daughter in terms of relationships? Because she's also going to be looking up to you and you're going to be looking at her to say, you're the first, you better not screw this up.
I completely agree. No, so I think me and her dad are like the closest ever. So, and I'm sure you saw at the wedding that me and him are like.
Yes.
So he still comes over and we sit and have drink and eat. I was like, "Ah,
Nice.
do you want to eat?" And he was like, "Yes." And he cooks very well. So sometimes I feel like eating his afang. He makes a
Are
really
you
good
for
afang.
real? This is a
I'm serious.
blended family moment then.
No, he makes a really good afang. Sometimes I'm like, "Can I have afang, please?" And so he cooks it and packs
Oh,
and brings it
that's
home.
awesome.
So
Oh,
for my daughter, is basically no matter where you find yourself, don't bond relationships, don't bond the bridge
oh wow.
relationships. I think we were young, me and her dad, when we had her and all of that, and it didn't work out. But we didn't bond that bond that we had in regards to fine. We're not in a relationship, but we can be friends, if that makes sense. So I think for anyone, not even just my daughter, and even in not just in relationships, even in work situations, do not bond bridges. Ejime, I worked with you over 10 years ago, and I can still
Yep.
talk to you. Anytime I come into town, I'm like, Ejime,
More
I'm
than
around. Let's
10
go for a
years. You don't want to give away our age. It's definitely more than
It was like 2 years ago. Yes, I'm 21. I identify as a 21-year-old.
exactly.
But no, seriously, yeah. So it's I think the advice is always keep those relationships going and don't burn the bridges, because you never know when that relationship is something that you would need or the person would need you. So always keep your relationships, even though you don't talk for. I can have friends I haven't spoken to in like 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. But the minute we
And
see each other, it's
you
like
just pick it up.
we just pick it
You
up and
just pick it
continue.
up. And I think for me that's a level of maturity that I like more people to have, because I always hate the experience of someone guilt tripping me to say, oh, you haven't called, you haven't done this, you have, and I'm like, come on, do you know what's going on in my life?
Exactly.
I don't know what's going on in your life, but I mean, I would appreciate that doubt, giving me the benefit of doubt to say, oh, I don't, let me check in. Is she okay? And not to assume I do not care because I
Mm-hmm.
haven't called. So when I get that kind of energy from a friend or an acquaintance, I'm like, you know what? This level of maturity, it's not getting to the level I'm used to. Maybe this is not for me
Mm-hmm.
because it's just a waste of energy and life is so busy. And if people don't understand how busy life can be, then they shouldn't. I mean, I feel like the person is judging me. And
Mm-hmm.
as a coach, there's always that thing about you need to be kind to yourself. You also need to be kind to others and not judge. You know what I mean? So that's important. So I'm gonna go back, maybe segue. So we've talked about career, we've talked about relationships. That was sweet. We talked about school. I'm so impressed with the story. I mean, the story you're sharing, the stories you've shared. I want us to go back into this whole piece of you, being a coach. And I know that generally at this point in time, there's this feeling of, I don't know, cognitive overload. There is social media, there's the AI buzz. I mean, there is, so if you're not watching a movie, you're on Twitter, you're on TikTok, I mean, it's just a lot. And there's an overconsumption of information. And these days in Nigeria, it's like who is trending, what's trending. So that creates a buzz. So I typically go and I speak to my team members. I'm like, hey, so what's trending? Because I can't be bothered to check or to follow up with the gossip, what's trending, and everybody has a side, and so on and so forth. So I want to ask you a question around your coaching experience, especially in the workplace, right? And I'm sure you can relate to this because our experience of working means there'll be highs, there'll be lows. And as you share this your thoughts, I'd love you to relate it to your work experience. So look, I've had I've had situations where I have seen people look really successful, but there's a fire that they're carrying inside of themselves. There's a problem that seems too big for them, and they're kind of stuck, somewhat disoriented, very overwhelmed. And they just feel like, you remember what I said about what Jumoke said? They just feel like that slump in their
Mm,
career, it's never gonna, end. And they feel like they're walking back and their mates are moving
mm,
forward. It's such a tough experience to go through. So give me, if you can, how how do you I'm trying to how do you get people, I don't know if you have the experience to share where you have, even you, where you have experienced the career slump and you're like, heck, this is not where I should be,
mm.
and how you decided to move yourself out. And what are the stories you tell yourself? And what are the stories you tell people in that same situation?
Permit me to read the introduction to my book, because what you've just explained basically is exactly the introduction. It's one paragraph of my book, so I'm just going to read it out. Right? Let me see, because it's so important that what you've just said, and it's my story. That's why I wrote the book. So that's my book, right? And the introduction says, in 2024, after 8 months of unemployment, over 100 job applications, and that 8 months of employment was led by a redundancy. After over 100 job applications, navigating 9 grueling interview process, and I use the word grueling, with 4 stages each, and reaching the final round 3 times, I finally received an offer, only to turn it down. It was a wake-up call that forced me to step back and reflect on why the job market felt so broken, what had changed to making finding the right opportunity so challenging. But what I want to call out here is the fact that I went to all of these interviews, went through the grueling 5 stages of 5 of them, got an offer, and I turned that offer down. And that's exactly the point what you're making here in regards to the fatigue, the slum, because for me there was misalignment. I was no longer the person that wanted to work in the certain environments, and that's where I had tried in almost 15 years. That's what was my bread and butter. That's what I knew. But I could not bring myself to accept that offer, because it was like, oh my goodness, I am going back to that thing. And it took a redundancy for me to realize that. So when we talk about slums, there are different things that could cause a slum. You could have a bad quarter, you could have a bad manager that you don't want to work with, fatigue, burnout, you understand? Redundancy, having to relocate, all of those could be the things that causes the slum, and sort of like makes you sort of like take notes. For me, it was redundancy, and it was like, I don't want to do this anymore. My husband thought I was completely and utterly mad for not taking the offer. He was like, it is and it was a really, really good offer. The money, everything, the company, the name, the status. What's wrong with you? And I said, I think I'm going through a midlife crisis, and we had a good laugh about that. It wasn't a midlife crisis. It was misalignment. It was misalignment of value. It was misalignment of identity. It was misalignment around, it didn't speak my language anymore, that role. It wasn't what I wanted to do anymore. I had apparently evolved, and I didn't even know I'd evolved. So I think when I have women who come to me with these kind of problems all the time when I'm coaching, in regards to being stuck, not understanding why they don't feel the same way they're supposed to be feeling in their job, and it's not even redundancy, they're still in jobs. And the first thing I always ask them 3 questions. The first question is basically, are you still energized? Do you want to get up in the morning and go to work? Because if you don't want to get up in the morning and go to work, question mark. The second one is basically, and I think this is probably going into what Jumoke says, do you see a future version in 5 years' time? Would this matter? Where you are right now, would it matter? And then the third thing I sort of like said, I asked is basically, if nothing changed, so you'll continue along this line, this roads that you are in the next 3 years, would you be excited and disappointment at this moment, and that you don't make a different choice? So if you made the choice to continue as you are in the next 3 years and you look back at this moment, would you be disappointed, or will you be excited that you made the right choice? Those 3 questions, it really, really gets them, my clients really reflecting on where the position that they are in right now, that it's not a negative always. It's not always a negative. It could be a positive also. Sometimes it's a negative, and that means you're burnt out and you probably need to take a holiday, maybe. Go lie on a beach somewhere and drink some cocktail, and then you come back refreshed. But sometimes it's actually because there's a misalignment and you need to do some work around that. I think you're on mute. Can't hear you.
I was trying not to interrupt you.
No,
I
thank
was
you.
just reflecting on the questions and thinking to myself that this are really, coaching speak. These are evocative questions that evoke a lot of introspection, that provoke one to sort of think deeply. And I'll tell you, I had a similar experience. I actually didn't have a job. I quit my job with no job, just simply because I had a manager who was quite toxic. And I think it was sometime around COVID. I was like, you know what, I'm done. And I had tried to leave many times. In fact, 6 months after I joined, I was like, this is not going to work. And husbands that we have, oh yeah, just go ahead, you're going to learn. So when I got to my tipping point, I was like, you know what, I'm done. So I quickly wrote my resignation letter. Off it went, and I came downstairs and said, oh, I've just resigned. So it was not a question of, I am thinking I want to. I was like, I'm done. And he looked at me. And so, there's something called the resolute desk in the United States in the Oval. I was so red. I was like, I'm done. I've given it everything and it's not working. So I didn't have a job. And very quickly, in the next couple of months, some company reached out to me. It was a healthcare fintech, and they wanted me to come and lead their team. They're the functional team. And I'm like, yeah, I went through the assessment. They're like, oh yeah, offer, equity, everything. They're going to sort of match and go above what I was earning. But it just didn't feel right. I just, then I think one of my mentors reached out and said, that job's too small for you. And I'm like, but I don't have any cash flow. Yes, I have savings, but I don't have any cash flow. It would be good. But I had to. There's that thing about intuition where for me, it was more like every time I got a reminder, sign the contract. It was like an intrusion into my spirit, like, oh my God, I'm going into hell. I'm not yet in heaven, but I'm okay. And at some point, I'm okay. So at some point in time, it's so funny. I actually had to call the CEO. We had a conversation. I was like, can I just come in as a consultant and do the job? He was like, no, we need you 110%. I'm like, I can give 80. He was like, no, 110. We're expanding what this. I was like, you know what? It's fine. They couldn't understand it. They had introduced me to the entire organization. They were waiting. They were ready for me to create magic. Guess what? 6-7 months later, one of the people that I should have been my direct reports reached out to me and said, Jay, how did you know not to come? I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, yeah, that everybody left that function. It was toxic. It was horrible. It was like people left everybody left. Just because I think these guys, they had found plenty of money, they'd gotten investors, they're quite young, experience-wise, very smart, but didn't have the experience of really leading people at scale. And I'm not a small baby, you know what I mean? I would have been, I'm sure I may have been ticked off on day one. So I'm just reaffirming what you said about, how the misalignment, I honestly felt misaligned. It did not speak my language. It felt like I was losing my peace and I was going to be a slave in this organization that seemed to want me so desperately. And I felt was, like a fly. It was buzzing. God forgive me, but that's the way I felt. So well done to you, because I think we also need to be very grateful for life's privileges, because that redundancy package may have given you some comfort over a period of time. Some people don't have a choice like we did.
Exactly.
So what do you tell people that do not have a choice?
Exactly. So really good. There's a chapter in my book that also looks at the
Hey,
financial emotion.
you need to show that book. Where's that book? Show me the book.
Yay!
I love it.
It's in my copy, not for sale, but it's on Amazon, so it's
Okay. I love
yeah.
it. I love it. Okay.
So there's a chapter in my book that talks about the financial part of it, where it
Okay.
talks about what you've just said, where if there's road, if you have a redundancy package. So I'll give an example. I had a redundancy package, and thankfully when I was made redundant, and what I did was to give myself peace, was basically pay myself every month the salary I normally would get in the month. So basically there was no fear of I'm not going to get a salary this month. The redundancy, I covered myself for 6 months. And so that gave me the room to sort of like the first month just, oh, sir, no, I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to stay and be, basically. So I did that and just relaxed and not worry, because it's the worry that makes you fear, and fear then kicks in and you start, wanting to take anything and everything. Now, for the people that don't have the financial road where redundancy doesn't give that, and I've had a few clients, actually, I was speaking to a male client actually, because I do normally coach a female as well. This male client came into my DMs and I could not say no. With the financial resilience, he didn't have the financial resilience, and it's basically the same thing. Yes, you don't have the financial resilience. Yes, it's going to be tough, but you don't sell your soul either. You don't go somewhere where another 2 months time you're going to be leaving and you're going to burn yourself and you're going to get hurt from a work perspective and all of that. So what else can we do to bring in some money while you're looking for the role that is the right role? If that makes sense. Is there family support? Is there loans? Is there credit cards? What else can you do to just take away that pressure? Because it is pressure, and what ends up happening if you have that pressure is that you end up in the wrong role. You will definitely end up in the wrong place or in the wrong path. So how do you remove that? And so there's obviously, like I said, family support. If you have a husband or a wife who's also working, you look at your finances. I also talk about going into what I call, I call it the sort of like your poverty period, where you are literally poverty period, where you're literally taking things, so you don't do all of the fun things like going to restaurants and eating out. You understand? You buy the cheaper things. Yes, sometimes you buy cheaper things, right? You don't buy the nice things. So you do an austerity budget is why. So you do your austerity budget, basically. Yes, you do your austerity budget where, you know what, maybe we used to buy, I'll give an example. Me and my husband, we always go shopping and we buy things in bulk, right? Because it's just easier to go to the shop once and buy things in bulk. But what you end up finding is that you end up throwing a lot of food out because they expire. Yes, they expire before time. You're throwing away the food and you're like, so it's basically, okay, now we're going to do weekly shops. Don't like going to the shops every week, but I'm going to do weekly shops because that reduces the amount of money you're spending throwing away food and waste.
I like
so
that.
you do your austerity budget in that period. So there are lots of techniques that in my book that actually talks about, okay, fine, you don't have the financial stability. How do you reduce your spend until you're able to get the right role? But what you should not do is panic and choose the wrong path, because it's going to cost you more in the long run.
You know, I like it because this world is so frenetic and there's just so much noise. So stay and be, you have to be so intentional about shutting yourself off from the noise. And it takes a lot of self-discipline and will. I know some famous people say they go off social media. They do some kind of detox. You know, that stay and be is hard, because I think for hyperachievers like ourselves, there's that drive of wanting to achieve. There's that drive of, I remember when I wasn't working, I'll be waiting for my husband. So what happened today? What happened today? Because I felt like I wasn't adding value to the world. And I'm like, so what value? You know, wanting to hear his own story, and he's looking at me like, I just want to rest. Why are you stressing me, asking me what happened today? What happened today? Because I wanted adult conversation, you know, that exchange of, you know, that brain power conversation. So stay and be helps with no worry and no fear. I really think it's a very good tip. But the noise money, it comes very quickly. And I think the one thing I'm sure your book will have, and one of the things that I value, right, because I've left my jobs 2-3 times, I think at some point in time, you know, had my packages back and forth, that kind of thing. I learned at some point in time that you have to have a financial well-being plan. I learned that because I think the first time I left my job, I needed to be home with my 1 year old and I wanted to finish my MBA in Lagos Business School. And my company was like, hell no, you're too young. Who the hell are you? It's for executives. They refused to
Mm.
support me. I was paying for myself. So this is me with no job, with time and no money. So you remember back in the day, you would go, you pick up shoes from the boutique, pick up your wigs. But yeah, like, how can you do that with no cash flow? I actually literally cut my hair. And one of the things that I realized, again, I think another time I left my job was we are so connected to the identity, the work identity. And when you don't have that card that says director,
Mm.
executive this, and it's just your name with no card,
Mhm.
with nothing,
Mhm.
with no brand, just your name as the brand, it is
Mhm.
overwhelming and disempowering, especially if you haven't prepared for it. And
Mhm.
preparing for it is the mind, right? In terms of knowing who you are without the job and also having a financial plan. Do you see what I mean? So I'm sure your book has something that references before you lose your job, what do you do? Just in case you lose your job.
Wait, can you see the writing on the wall?
You know what I mean? Because
No,
yeah,
I
go
think
ahead,
I
go
think
ahead.
it's quite interesting you say that. I just want to go back to B and then I'll come back to this. So
Yeah,
I have a coach myself. I'm a coach, but I have my own coach
nice,
also.
nice.
And I remember last year he said to me, "Okay, we're now going to because I had a cancer scare and all of that and blah blah, and I was all of
Oh,
that." And then he was like, "Okay, so this is the time. You're always doing stuff, Linda. You're always busy. Now we want you. Our thing is for you to be." And I was like, "Okay, fine, I can do that." And he was like, "Okay, so we're gonna do the next 4 weeks of you just being." And I was like, "No problem." And then the next 4 weeks, when I met him, he said, "I said, oh, I've been." And he was like, "Really?" I have seen the activities, Linda. I have seen the messages. I have seen you going to do charity. I've seen you going to do. And I was like, "But that's me being B. That's me being, not doing anything." And he was like, "Really?" I'm like, and so it's quite funny when you say we high achievers because I can do 20,000 things at the same time, right? And so B for me is different from B from other people because B for me basically I've slowed it really. That doesn't mean nothing is happening. And it was like, oh, okay. Because what I saw didn't look like B, being right. It was a lot of activities, and I was like, oh no, that is not normal. That is no activity for
very
me.
low you, very low energy
Exactly.
you.
Very low me. So that is very interesting that you said that. But yeah, I agree with you. That's not doing anything, trying to stay in one place and just go back to yourself and understand yourself is quite difficult. Now, if we go back to the financial resilience piece in regards to when you're in a job, preparing, you know what that comes back to me, AJ? I'm sure you remember this, preparing for tomorrow. Do you remember preparing for
Yay!
tomorrow?
Go, go, go. That was one of the best programs,
That
honestly.
was one of the best programs. I always still talk about it, and I'm not going to say our
Yay!
age years after we have had that. The organization was putting us through that, saying preparing for tomorrow, even though it meant that you might leave the organization, but there was no fear about that. So that was a really
Mhm.
good organization. And uh, it reminds me, and I always say this about preparing for tomorrow, because you're doing it now doesn't mean tomorrow is always going to be the same. So it just lends itself to what you're saying in regards to having a financial plan. You understand? While you're while you're working, you should also have something on the side that you're saving. You have a plan for your retirement, and have other things that you're doing, like investing in property, investing in all the things, because your job is not always going to be there. In my book, I wrote that the job security now. Remember, our parents used to be in jobs for 30 years, 40 years, work in the
30
same place
your
for 40
life.
years. Yeah, they will work in the same company for 40 years. Look at our
Yep.
generation, and our kids' generation is even going to be worse. Our
It is.
generation, I've worked in multiple different organizations, different sectors. Not because I don't want to stay in one company. It just means you get to a point where you've overgrown a company, or a company has overgrown you, and you need to
Exactly.
move, right? So we now in this terrain that we find ourselves, or in this place that we find ourselves, we need to plan for tomorrow and prepare for tomorrow, because it's not always that job security of it's always going to be I'm always going to be there 40 years. So what can you do while the hay and the sun shines. So you're making the hay when the sun shines,
Hey and
basically
the sun.
shine.
Hey and the
So,
sun.
and it's gonna even get worse with our kids, where they don't even feel that they need job security anyway. They don't want to stay in one place. They don't want to stay in one place for 5 years. They want to see and experience different things. So how do you ensure that you are financially stable in those changes? And if you don't have a job, that you're also financially stable, basically. In the UK, we've got a country that helps you out, and you can go on the door or go and claim. But not all countries have that, where
Yeah.
I know, like, in Nigeria and maybe in the US, there's no support mostly for, when you don't have your job, you're on your own, basically. So you need to have your own backup. That's why I say you're the CEO of your own life. And so the CEO of
Yep,
your own
yep,
life is not
yep.
just in your job, it's in everything: your relationship, your home life, your work life, and your retirement. You see all of that, basically.
I love how you landed, and I love how you sort of also remind us that while the hay and sun is shining, because there's always a temptation of, hey, there's an outlet mall, let's just shop and die, kill ourselves. We'll pay for the extra luggage. It's much cheaper to shop.
You should
I'm
see
going
my
on a
shoe room
cruise.
upstairs.
Yeah, I'm going on a cruise, and a friend of mine is like, oh my God, she's been saving for this cruise. She's going to just buy everything. And I'm like, I'm trying to think about what should be my budget. What returns have I made from my investments? In fact, a friend of mine who's a treasurer was telling me you should only spend on things that would depreciate, using a percentage of your, you know what I mean, your
Yes,
interest, and not your
interest.
principal in it. So I'm like, good. So I'm like, okay, how am I going to hold myself back from myself?
Because we love the nice things.
we like nice things, you know what I mean? So it's interesting about the hay and the sun shining. And maybe you want to sort of tell me a little bit about how people could have this financial plan, because I know that the job market in UK is really tough. You told me about it. I was in San Francisco sometime in March, and it's horrible. AI has kind of like, it's become a trend. We're just going to lay off 10% of the organization and wait for the share price to sort of jump up. And it's almost like, who can do it the fastest, right? And then replace those guys with agents. They now realize that your consumers are not quite ready, and who's going to buy your product? It's human
Mm.
beings, not agents. So it's a little bit of a catch
Mhm.
22 situation. So tell me a little bit about planning hay and sun shining from a financial point of view. I like what you say about, the CEO of your life. I love it. I'm going to steal that with pride. Remember that thing we used to say, I'm going to
Still
steal
with
with
pride.
pride.
Still with
I'm not
pride,
going to
yeah.
reinvent the wheel back in the day. So tell me a
Still
little
with
bit
pride.
about
Yes.
that. And if because look, the thing that worries me about slums is it's a mindset thing, first of all. Then it's an ecosystem thing of your support, your finance and everything. And that mindset takes a hit because one's confidence can just plummet.
Mhm.
And that is scary. You know what I mean? So talk about the financial piece a little bit more, and maybe something that we don't know that you have found really interesting, given your experience, your clients, and so on.
No, quite interesting around the financial piece. So I'll tell you, for example, what I did while the sun and the hay was there, basically.
Yay.
So I would take a percentage of my salary every month, in regardless of what was happening, right? I would take a percentage of my salary and put in my ISA, and then savings for my three kids. So I saved for them every month. So they had their own ISAs. I would put that no matter what was happening, even when I didn't have a job, I would strive to, I would use, yes, even when I didn't have a job, or I was in between jobs, monthly, unfailingly, this is something I need to do. So maybe the show, or the drinking, or the having a drink with friends, or going out with friends, or going to the movies, or buying a dress, or even buying extra food or whatever would not happen. This needs to happen. So that was a constant. It had to happen, regardless. So that was one. So I always said. Then also investing in stocks, investing in property was quite key for me. So I said to my husband, I can retire if I want to retire now. I don't want to retire now because I'm like, I still have years of work that I can do. So why my retirement has a few years, before I start using it. I still have a lot in me, to give basically, and I'll be very tired anyway. So
The bottom can kill, by the way.
Yeah. So, but it's basically having that financial plan. I remember one of my friends when we were quite young used to say, if we save £5 every day, what would that be in a year? And then what would that be in 10 years? And you will not.
That's a basic story of compounding. Yeah.
Yes. You will never see that £5 every day coming out of your account because it's nothing, right? Yeah. But in the end, it's something. So I'll give an example. The savings. So since I gave birth to my daughter, I've been doing that savings. And when she graduated, she bought a house with her money. You understand? Yes. She bought a house. So her deposit for her first house was that money. That's on 2 days ago, I took my last born. The last one, he's 11. And I said, let's go see how much you have in your account. He's like, oh, I have an account. I said, yes. And so we went to the bank. I took him to the bank with me. And we were like, oh, let's see what he has. Because I don't look at the account. It's a savings account, a book. So we went into the bank and he was like, oh, I'm rich. I'm like, no, you're not rich. You can't touch it. You can't touch it until this time of, when you're older and all of that. It was like, well, Mom, I want to buy you lunch. And I was like, okay, you can take some money out and we can go out. So we went to your sushi. He bought me lunch. Yes, my 11-year-old bought me lunch. But yes, like I said, there needs to be deliberate planning, right, for your financial security. When you have a job, when you don't have a job, that plan needs to stay. And it needs to be a plan that is not overwhelming. So like £20 every month is not overwhelming. But after 10 years, after 20 years, that is something. Now, I talk about that for the younger people, but people of our age now, we're not showing our age now, who want to then start, who have not started planning, what can they do? It's a different conversation now. And that is exactly the same thing in regards to where can you remove the waste? Where can you remove the excessive spending? So like your friend said, don't spend. And I would want to get that from you. The percentage piece that she said, interest and compound, obviously she's a financial person.
It's so good.
Before you spend it, there needs to be that thinking around, my financial plan versus this. How does this impact my financial plan? So you always have to plan according to your situation. And there's no one silver bullet to it. Everyone's situation is different, but you just need to have a plan that suits your person and your status.
Good. So I have 2 questions and we're going to rapid fire. I think the first one, just very, very high level. I like what you say about the Queen of Reinvention. Yeah. I think it's easy for one to sort of think about reinvention as a place you go. Sorry about that. A place you go where you lose a bit of who you were. So do you get what I mean? So and remember we're saying that everything around dealing with life's craziness, it starts with the mind. So how are you able to get people to sort of, or how do you even tell yourself that reinvention is an evolution and you're not losing yourself in the process? It's not a reset. Like, how you reset your phone, boom, everything goes. Then you say, oh, I've reinvented my phone. I have new pictures. What you're saying is somewhat different, right?
Yes, it is. It's so much different. So I think for me, this is one of the favorite reframes, which is why my book is about reinvention, resilience and reinvention. My favorite reframe to that space, basically, and you're completely right. I have a lot of clients who come to me and go, I'm losing myself. I've lost everything I have. I would lose everything I have if I reinvent. And I go, actually, is it losing everything you have? Because if you look at it, reinvention is not losing what you have. It's actually taking everything that you are and you have and and using it in a different frame. You have to reframe how you see what you do. So I always use this metaphor. I have a metaphor I use always, and I'm sorry, I always use metaphors. I say, like, does a river reset? So when a river changes course, so if you put rocks, a river flows, it will move, to the different course. It carries everything. It carries the fishes, it carries the rocks, it carries the dirt, and it just finds a different direction. It doesn't lose any of its particles or its inhabitants. It just finds a different way. Actually, I have a link on LinkedIn. I was like, if life throws this at you, find a different path. If there's no path, make your own path. Basically, but you make your own path with everything that you know. You make your own path with your experiences, your scars, the negatives, the positives. You take all of that and you make your own path. So for me, reinvention is actually exciting.
So yes,
exciting.
You know what I was going to say? I was going to say 2 quick things. So when the ethos about pepper soup, the podcast, is when life gives you lemon, you make lemonade. That's reinvention. When life gives
Yeah.
you pepper, you make pepper soup.
Pepper soup, straight up. Yes.
So what I wanted to say about reinvention is I remember my mom would cook a lot. Like our house was called Food is Ready, right? So when the food starts getting a little bit old, do you know what she does? Maybe she puts a little bit of palm oil, a little bit of
Mm,
crayfish. Then she
yeah.
now heats it up, cuts some onions, if that's beans, or she puts some more pepper if it's ogbono, something like that. And by the time you eat, you're like, oh my God. Or maybe she brings out meat from the freezer and she fries it in oil. You're like, wow, mom, when did you make this? She's like, I just warmed it up.
That's the old one.
I'm like, so because I am the last of six
Yeah.
kids, so I kind of like, I learned a lot of hacks from her. And she
Love
was so
that.
cool. She was so cool. So I think for me, that would be my metaphor when it comes to reinvention, because you're reinventing the soup or the stew or the beans
Love
or
that.
whatever. So I love
I
that.
will steal that with pride. I will
Take
steal
it,
that
take
with
it, take it. No, I will charge. I will
church.
not charge. I will not charge. So
With pride because you're completely right, isn't it? Yeah, that's new.
yeah,
When
I
you
love
make
that.
one new old food and you add some spice, it's completely new and it's sweeter than it was when you first made it.
It's
Actually,
it's and old ogbono or even old porridge is sweeter the next day.
yep.
So come back to Nigeria, hurry up. So the last question I have before I go into rapid fire is, so I mean, I go back to the type A ambitious women like we are. And I just want you to sort of maybe help me bring this home. Um maybe it's stories you tell yourself, for examples, or people that have inspired you in their story of transformation or major career transitions, something that you try to leave people with to say, you know what, you'll be okay. It's not too late to pivot. It's not too late to grow. It's not too late to step into a completely new version of themselves as they try to evolve. Get them to see the end of the rainbow, get them to see the other side. What are the things you tell yourself or you tell your clients?
So I give a story about my auntie, right?
Mhm.
That's my auntie, and actually, it's quite interesting. My birthday in February, she stood up and said, I want to talk." Well, like, you're not on the list of people to give a speech. Like, I stuck, and she said this,
Auntie.
and I was,
Sabi auntie, over
yeah,
sabi, like there are plenty.
I must have been auntie.
Over sabi.
No, but she stood up and said this, and I wasn't a coach. I think I was about 20 something years old when this happened, and basically she had come out of a marriage where she did not know anything. She had not gone to school. She worked while she put her husband through school, if that makes sense. They used the money to make sure her husband went to school, and then when he graduated and started making money, he let go of her. And I remember then she was like, I'm too old. I don't even know how to pay bills. I don't know what council tax is. I don't know what this is. And I said to her, Auntie, you can go back to school. And she was like, me go back to school at the age of 40? Oh my goodness. I was like, what is wrong with you going back to school? She's like, if I go back to university, they're all 18 and 20 years. It doesn't matter. That's
It
you.
doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Go back then. And so she was like, oh, no. She doesn't. And so she waited 5 years, and I kept on with her, like, no, you have to do something. You have to do. And one day she said, called me and said, okay, I'm going to go and do nursing. And I was like, perfect. She said, but I don't think I can be a nurse. I said, why can't you be a nurse? Of course you can be a nurse. Do nurses have foreheads? The people that are nurses, they don't have foreheads. Auntie, go do it. She's a registered nurse now. She went and she did nursing. She's a registered nurse. And she's remarried. And guess who she married? Her high school sweetheart from about 30 years. She found a
They
high
make
school sweetheart.
she in school, who knows?
I know, right? She found a high school sweetheart. And so I used her story. She was in her late 40s then. I used her story to say it's never too late to reinvent itself. People feel like reinvention is for the younger people, or maybe someone that's 20 can reinvent. No,
Yeah.
It's never too late. It's never too late to reinvent yourself. It's never too late to reinvent yourself in something you have never done before.
Mhm.
Because it just takes the passion and the willingness that I want to do this
Exactly.
to manifest it.
The can do, will do spirit, right?
Yes.
I love that. So we're gonna do rapid fire questions. That means you shouldn't think or analyze.
Okay.
If you were to think about an unexpected ingredient that helped you survive or thrive, what would that be? What's the one word?
Self-awareness.
Deep. I love it. I love it. Mm. I think it's sort of, there's a story there, but we'll get there. Then, hmm, who's your biggest fan or champion? So you know how it is. You remember when I talked about my mom making the soup and adding the onions? Who is that person that has added flavor to your life when you were like, hey, I'm not sure what's going on here?
I had a line manager early on in my career that would say, Linda, you can do it, just go and do it. It's you. And I always go back to her. She's in Australia now, and I always go back to her and say, oh, Linda, it's you. Go and do it. You can do it. You understand? So, and I'm happy that I met her very early in my career. So she's my by force mentor. I force her to be a mentor whether she likes it or not.
I like that.
So yeah, she's always like, you can do more than you know you can, Linda, and I know you can do. So go and do it. Go on and stop overthinking.
So, what did you discover about yourself in the middle of the boiling pot?
Oh, resilience. Like I said at the start, that resilience. I will put me anywhere. I will survive it. Put me anywhere. There might be a struggle, but I will survive it. I think that's where. So when it's boiling, when it's making pepper soup, we're coming out on top.
Yes. Say the full name of the book for our soulmates, and who needs to read it?
Okay, it is Career Resilience and Reinvention. So thriving in a changing job market. Like I knew what was happening. I wrote this in 2023, and the job market is completely crazy right now. So I saw it coming basically.
Who needs to read the book?
Oh, anyone that is currently having to reframe where they are in their career, understanding what they need to do next, who feel stuck or feel misaligned in their career, and also who have been made redundant in this job market. It's a completely crazy job market. So surviving that period where you're looking for a role in this current terrain that we find ourselves. That's who needs to read this.
Awesome. We're gonna nail it for you. So thank you so much, Linda. I'm really, really excited we had this conversation. So I'm just going to thank our soulmates for joining us in another insightful episode of Pepper Soup Stories podcast. So today we just spent an hour with the amazing Linda Rogers. I love that name. It's almost like you're a superstar already. She took us through an amazing journey of her life. Thank you so much for coming on our podcast. And you were beyond insightful. You were just, they say clock it. This day they say clock it. You were, yeah. So I think for us, the final thing we just want to say as we close this is, from our perspective, we believe that it's very important for us to pamper our soul, which drives our mindset, because, our soul is sort of like a baby. And when it flourishes, we do, right? So thank you so much, Linda. If there was one word you wanted to say as you bow out as the curtains close, what's that word?
CEO of your life. Remember that, everyone.
Yay! The best thing.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, share with a friend, leave a review, and connect with us on social media. Your support means the world to us. Until next time, soulmates, stay inspired, keep growing, and turn life's peppers into a flavorful soup. Connect below. Bye-bye for now.